my screen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of Summer Fishtrap's free activities. So we just finished a second day worth of workshops for our Summer Fishtrap registrants, and I want to welcome all of them on Zoom, and also all of you who may be tuning in from internet land and from around the state and the country and from super smoky Willapa County. So as I just told these guys, if all of a sudden I start choking, don't worry, I'll be fine. Inside is right there. So my name is Shannon McNerney. I'm the executive director at Fishtrap, and I am super excited to welcome all of you to a second day of readings. For those of you who have not experienced this before, at a normal and an in-person Summer Fishtrap every day, we would do readings that we would make free and open to the public in the evenings. And because we can't all be together, we thought this would be a great way to do this, is make these available online. Hopefully most of you have seen, well, if you're here, you saw something, but there's a schedule of readings that are open to the public every single day. You can find that at fishtrap.org. You can also see it in the local Willapa County Chieftain or on our Facebook page. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get notifications when these videos are posted. And if you want to watch it again and again and again, you can do that too. So this officially kicks off 6 days of readings and events from our faculty. This one I'm super excited about. I'm excited about all of them, but I can't think of a better person to kick us off with a giant kaboom than our good friend, Anis Mojgani. We're gonna have a little chat with Anis, and at the very end, have a time for a Q&A. But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about our friend. Anis Mojgani is the current Poet Laureate of Oregon, and we could not be better represented or better inspired by Anis, especially now. He's a 2-time individual champion of the National Poetry Slam, and if you've ever heard him read publicly, you know how that happened. And he's also a winner of the International World Cup Poetry Slam. He's authored 5 books of poetry. He's commissioned work for the Getty Museum and the Peabody Essex Museum. He's also appeared on HBO, NPR, and as a part of the Academy American Poets Poem a Day series. I'm super excited to hear more about this. He's premiering his first opera libretto, Sanctuaries, this year. Anis, you're coming to us from Portland. I did want to talk a little bit why he's with us. Anis did at least, I think, 2 youth workshops with us, maybe 3. Is that correct?
Let's see. I think 3.
I think you're right. I think this is
my 5th Fishtrap, and I think 2019, when last I was there, was maybe the first
adult. Yeah.
Adult class that I taught.
Yeah. So that was great. So it's another way of saying that we've totally filled you up with our Kool-Aid, and you are one of us. So we're in talks. We're hoping that you get to come out and hang out with us in the fall. And I know that part of your Poet Laureate gig would have normally meant you traveling across the state. I'm just curious what this last year did for those plans, and how did that impact your getting to know the area?
Yeah, it was honestly a super big bummer. Not to start off on a down note, but one of the things that I was perhaps most excited about at the possibility of being the state laureate was honestly getting to see and explore and visit this state in a manner in which I never have over the last 15, 16 years of my relationship with it, and getting to meet and chat with communities around Oregon in ways that I'd never gotten to. And so, it definitely feels really, really odd to be more than a year into the 2-year appointment and not getting any of that, to do any of that. My first visit to anywhere outside of Portland and outside of my computer to have an event was in Lincoln City in the start of May, so basically 1 year in, and they're as of right now, like the only place that I've gotten to go do something in person. So it's definitely like a bummer. I'm very much looking forward to that shifting for this second year and getting to go, and see people and see places in person. That would be wonderful. So
Yeah. So I have two questions I think I'm going to try to ask everybody that I get to talk to. So the first one is, why Fishtrap? Why do you keep coming back and hanging out with us?
yeah.
What's different about us other than our sparkling personalities and smoky weather? So
Yeah. Well, I don't know now, since like I'm doing this, like, from my house, like, the joy of Fishtrap is getting to be in the Wallowas with the people who are there at the same time, so that's like definitely the the highlight, like getting to return and see and visit folks that I unfortunately only have gotten to see and visit at those times in Fishtrap. And so that's definitely like, such a joy, getting to see you folks out there. And but I think like separate of, or rather in addition to that, and in addition to like coming out to the Wallowas, which like really is just like, it's a wonderful experience. I think getting to go there and be in that part of the state, and to be with that part of the land, and getting to just kind of like shut down the things that are not there in front of me during the week, and get to engage with myself and my work, and getting to engage with a community of writers in a manner that like I don't always get to in my day to day. But like, in addition to all that stuff, like even with that not being part of the tangible right now, the thing that I think that I really love and appreciate about Fishtrap is I think that they're the things that stuff sits on top of the foundation of Fishtrap, of that it exists in the manner in which I just spoke to, not just I think because of like the tucked away little area that it takes place in usually, but I think that like tucked away aspect of it exists because of what Fishtrap is, which to me is very much like that aspect of like seeking to build a space that allows folks to turn down the volume and turn down that which is outside of the interior landscape of writing, that connects us. And so, having the opportunity to be a part of that, and to get that in my life, and also like, even just getting to connect with folks, those that I don't know and those that I do know, through Fishtrap, whether it's in person or virtual, is a joy. So that's why I keep coming back for Fishtrap.
it's the community. Yeah.
So I love those little donuts, and I love.
You know what? It's us no matter what. We're fabulous. There it is. Like I say, if you were here right now, you couldn't see the mountain. So it is what it is. I do want to ask you, and maybe a short answer about how has resilience impacted your creative life this last year?
I don't feel very resilient these days.
Well, you look resilient. So
because like it definitely has taken its toll and impact on my creative life, in that, I was saying to my class earlier that it is hard to like be connected to a writing discipline, to an artistic practice over this last year. and some of that definitely isn't just connected to the pandemic, but just simply kind of like where I am in my path and journey in my relationship with that and how those things are shifting. But definitely like, the pandemic hasn't aided that, in that I for the better part of the last 10 years, I've gone to basically the same coffee shop 8 times out of 10 to sit 4 to 6 days a week every morning and stare at myself through my computer to try to write things. And March hit last year and that stopped. And so like to have like a very tangible physical relationship to how I engage with my practice, I don't feel that I've been able to like, connect to it in the same way.
Sure.
And so it definitely is challenging. And so I on one level, I don't necessarily feel resilient in that like, I'm trucking away the same as before. But I still, I think that there's a resilience in recognizing that like this relationship that I have a connection with, this relationship to writing, this relationship to creativity and artistic endeavors, still has a home in me, it's taking shape, I think, in a different way underneath the pandemic, but it's still taking shape. And so I'll take that resilience.
Sometimes resilience is just showing up. So
exactly.
So I want to give you the stage. What have you got to read for us?
I don't know, just a bunch of poems.
All right.
And we'll see. Some of them might be familiar to some of y'all. Some of them won't be. And
Well, let's have some fun. All right, everybody, tune into our good friend Anise.
Thank you, Shannon, and thanks y'all for joining today. Excuse me. Come closer. Come into this. Come closer. You are quite the beauty. If no one has ever told you that before, know that right now. You are quite the beauty. There is joy in how your mouths dance with your teeth. Your smiles are simply a sign of how sacred your life actually is, so step into it. Come closer. Know that whatever God might be, they asked the world around them to help them make something of worth. Woke from dreaming, scraped the soil from spaces stuck somewhere inside themselves, made you, and were happy. You make that Lord happy. Come into this. Come closer. Know that whatever God might be, something soft as us and just as holy, planted pieces of itself into our feet that we might one day dance our way back. Know that you are almost home. Come just a little bit closer. There are birds beating their wings beneath your breastplates. Gentle sparrows aching to sing. Come aching hearts. Come soldiers of joy, doormen of truth. Know that my heart was too big for my body, so I let it go. And most days this world thins me to where I'm just another cloud, forgetting another flock of swans, having shaved off so many of my corners that I have felt at home only in the shape of a ball, bending myself so far backwards that the song of my mother believed I was returning home. But believe me when I tell you that somehow my soul still manages to squeeze itself into very narrow spaces. Place your hand beneath your head when you sleep tonight. Perhaps you will find it there. Making beauty as we sleep, making beauty as we dream, making beauty as we turn over. When we turn over in the ground, may the ghosts that we've asked our answers of do that turning, kneading us into crumbs of light and into this love thing called life. Come into it. Come, you wooden museums, gentle tigers, little giants. I see teacups upside down, glowing across your grins. Your hearts are like my hands. Some days, all they do is tremble. I am like you. I am just like you. I too at times am filled with so much fear. but like a hallway must find the strength to walk through it. Walk through this with me. Through this church of blood, bone, and muscle that is ours, there's a doorknob that glows like chance before you. Grab it, turn, and pull. Step through, chin up, eyes open, back straight, hearts loud. Walk through this with me. Walk through this with me. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know. There's construction the street over, so many cars are going down my street when they wouldn't be. It's so funny to do that poem in the current state of the world that we're in. It's like, no, don't get that close. Not so close. Not so close. Come not so close. For those of you who've heard this poem before, you may have heard me also share. So like my friend John Sands is a poet from Ohio, lives in Brooklyn with his wife and son. And John, when he does his poems, there's something about them that make me feel like I am having a golden strength poured into me, a golden type of strength that feels that if I were to invent a brand new dance move to show to my landlord, they would let the rent slide for the month. And there was something about this poem that after I wrote it, felt of a similar light. It felt like perhaps I'd written it under the shade of a John Sands tree. And so it is called Today's Love is Brought to You by the Letter John Sands. High five me with your heart. High thousand me with your hearts. I know you have many of them. We all love many things. I love biscuits. I love cheeseburgers. I love little pancakes. I've loved more than just things that I chew with my mouth. I did love my wife. Sometimes I would chew my wife's shoulder in my mouth. Sometimes my wife, she was annoyed by this, but still, sometimes my wife did love me back. Random racist upon the street, while your rhetoric may anger me, I still have love for you, though you probably will not love me back. Walrus, I love you. Though were I to be around you, you would probably gore me with your tusks. Perhaps this is not a good example, as the wild unknowing of wild creatures is not necessarily the same as not loving something back. Perhaps also because I actually do not love the walrus, but simply mention them here because there's a small figurine of a walrus on the coffee table as I write this poem. However, I do love the elephant. I love the elephant. However, he too would probably gore me with his tusks. Again, not out of unlove, but perhaps fear. I do not love fear, but I respect him and that he loves me, testing how well I carry the sword of my intent through the land of the midnight farm. The land of the midnight farm, it is a strange and scary place. There are perhaps serial killers and or possums lurking in its darkness. The serial killer may love me, but in no way that I wish to be loved. Their love may involve the removal of my skin and the wearing of it out to the club. The possum may love me, but I do not love the possum. In fact, I hate the possum solely because of how ugly I find the possum to be. And yes, I realize this is a shallow reason to dislike something. So I'm trying, possum. I'm trying to not love you so much. Instead, possibly just be ambivalent to your existence. But oh, I want to hate you like I hate the thought of bee stings, black people, and beans. I put black people in there just to see if y'all were paying attention. I love black people. I love white people, though sometimes I find both of them to be trifling. Don't get me wrong. The only mother that I've ever had is black. The only wife that I ever had is white. But damn, we humans are a trifling animal at times. But still, I love you. You mountains of trifle and futility, of perseverance and lightness, of incessant rowing towards the sun, even while facing it, wondering why there is no forward momentum. Turn around. Look at my many hands holding up my many hearts and a many high five salutation to you. Nina Simone, Paul Newman, so many things in this world I've loved. Rising, with the sun sleeping in late, little pancakes. And though they didn't turn around once when she got gone, my wife's shoulders. Sometimes I would lay in the garden and pretend I was a carrot. Sometimes I would curl under the leaves and I became a head of lettuce. Sometimes I would bury my soft paws in the softer earth and I was a rabbit. Sometimes in the garden, I was a rock, was sometimes wishing I were two rocks, sometimes becoming three rocks. Sometimes in the garden as a rock, I was held cool and smooth in a palm, or warmed by the sun above. Sometimes in the garden, I waited hundreds of years, and it was only the wind that touched me. Sometimes I waited thousands of years, and not even the wind could move me. Sometimes in the garden, night would arrive with an enormous moon glowing like the skin of an orange-skinned woman in a more orange dress, and the night would use that moon to say to me, look, you are like how I am, and see how bright my body sometimes becomes. Sometimes I wait for spring. Always I wait for spring. And for my love to return like it, out of the cold and with flowers on their fingertips. Thank you. So I wrote this, I think it was either on Inauguration Day or sometime that week. There are still people I do not know getting married to each other, showing on their Instagrams the ring to people they love, but also to strangers like me, maybe giving them a smile out of the blue. And damn, if you look out the window, you might see, as I do, the sun catching a lift on the side of a car, its frame in motion, now emblazoned with light that arrives to us from a hot ball of gas, breathing heat in outer space. And the cars on the highway, they move like a flock that do not know they have a flock, are heading south or north, maybe east and west, perhaps combined, but whatever compass point it may be they are moving in the direction of towards, maybe driving, like here, beside a body of water, whether river or canal or lake or puddle or even cloud, for what is a body of water? As the road beneath it perhaps curves, its passengers sitting in the car like they were the hearts of a machine that carries them skyward, and I can chart their flight from my side of the river, my side of the cloud, as easily as the birds that flap above us, writing poems with the wings of their bodies across the page of our sight, can see me below them, writing poems with the wings of yours. Just shortly before pandemic, in February of last year, I'd gone to some folks that I know have some property on Vashon Island over in the Puget Sound area. And so I went up there to spend a few days to just collect some thoughts and do some writing. And this is a poem that came out of that, called On Vashon. Toby yells out that today he is being a gardener, has already pruned the pear tree that hasn't been pruned in 60 years, and will soon prune the plum tree to follow. And under the light, the bright light that gives us a blinding sight of on the other side of the water like a sword in the fire, a tray of silver serving the sun. Mount Rainier, so blue, almost white, which yesterday Toby told me of being 18 and trying to sleep on the saddle shape at the left of the peak, the wind seeking to blow his attempt off the side of the mountain, which on this weekday morning is so blue it is almost invisible. And so I cannot help but think on the little light blue book Jeffrey once gave to me to read, about a mountain that cannot be found because the light bends around it, and the expedition which discovers this mountain. And the author, he never finished writing the book, stopped mid-sentence, rumored as intentional, though he simply died young, though perhaps the world sought to complete his allegories for him, as it does with many things. And so perhaps it is all right, too, that I, small as the book is, did not finish it either. And as Jeff, too, did not finish this life before putting the living down, perhaps, even if still sad and longing, as I do for my friend and have every day these last 14 years, perhaps all right, too, that he is now unseen, and that he maybe just became another answer to a bending of the light, is perhaps also all right, especially with all of this light today, making me unable to see things that are here, which is sort of a way of being able to see the things that are not. And holding all of this, while not thinking it, I say to Toby in response, what a lovely answer to the day. Today I am being a gardener, to work with what the earth works on, and to work with one's hands, to work with the sun, touching one's hands, touching always one's livingness. How lovely to work on this something that, yes, too, we might never be finished with it either. Thank you. I'm gonna read, I think, two more. So like, two things about this poem. One, like, right quick, or as quick as I can. So like, if anyone has spent any amount of time with me in person or via text, I don't tend to say all right or okay in regards to like if someone, to let them know that I understood what they have said to me. I tend to say 10-4. And so like I say 10-4 1,000 times a day. So I've been, this has been part of my colloquialisms for 20 plus years now. And a few years ago, after, like I said, many years of this just being part of my usual day-to-day lingo, two of my friends, separate of one another, arrived at making the same joke at the same time, when they both on October 4th, like 5-6 years ago, wished me a happy Anis Moshgani day. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? Like, my birthday's in June. Like, what do you mean happy Anis Moshgani day? And they were both like, 10-4, happy 10-4. It's Anis Moshgani day. And so then it became this kind of like running joke to try to build this up into an actual holiday. And so in the years that followed, on October 4th, we would like blast out about it on social media and set forth guidance and suggestions to folks of how to celebrate and have their best Anis Moshgani day, which the hope is that folks will basically just have their best whatever day on whatever day that is. And so this poem was birthed out of like I don't know, a couple of tweets that I'd sent out like a few years ago about celebrating Anis Moshgani day. And recently I took it and kind of revamped it for this project that I was doing here in town, with so many windows of so many buildings empty right now in this past year. I've wanted to put poems in windows, and I've only gotten to do that once thus far. And so this was what I pieced together to put together in this window of a building here in Portland. Eat something sweet today. Look at a bird. Smile at that bird. Talk to it with your arms. Pick up a leaf if it strikes your fancy. Doodle a dirty cartoon. Sext the moon. Record a song you will share with no one. Have a nap somewhere, especially if it does not seem like it would be a comfortable place to dream. Dream in uncomfortable places, grieve in houses of joy, laugh in the graveyard, and not because you are dark and angsty, but because these ghosts got jokes. Laugh at what our ghosts are sharing with us. Smile at the birds they are now living inside of. Read a book you loved when you were 11, that you loved when you were 9, that you loved when you were 60. Dance like a song you know only by following its invisible notes taking shape. Start a letter to someone you have wronged. Be pained in the pain you left in them. Feel as small and strange as that pain may make you feel. Do not send that letter. Start again. Start 100 letters. Begin 1,000 times. Finish twice. Dreams do not deliver closure. They are circles. Spiral closer to who you are. Spiral towards your gentle warmth. Spiral towards the feathers of your heart. Smile to that bird. Your body a nest. Your brain a sky. What boundless blue your heart can flap through. What peace is given its wings between your leaves and twigs. Draw the perpetual smiling beak of the gull in your breast, lifting the stones from your heart. Release those gulls. Let the stones of your heart drop. May they dance in the drop. Between air and sea, look how light you are. What space exists between your heels and the exuberance of the earth. See how spring rushes every year to return, just to share its blossoms with you. Thank you. I'm gonna share one more poem. Thanks y'all so much for sharing your lunchtime afternoon with me and some of my words. Yeah, after this, if anyone's got questions that they may have, welcome to ask or post in the chat, however it is that fish trappers are running it. But yeah. When you're in your coffin, clanging down the river with all the other coffins in the water of the next world, all of them bumping and jostling against one another, the contents thrown about like riding in a small plane, you'll peek your head up to see what the racket is. You'll see the other coffins. Looking around, you'll see nothing but coffins and river and two banks distantly flanking the river, and the biggest, tallest dark stretching above. So dark it feels like this place, big as it is, must be inside some sort of bigger place. There are still stars, though. Wherever this river is, you can still see the stars. While looking around, you'll see that there are other heads peeking out of their coffins. You yell across the dark, asking, "You know where we are?" And someone will answer back, "No." "What about you?" "No," you say back. You ask someone else, "What about you?" "No," they answer. "I wonder where this is." And someone else will say, "I don't know, but it's big." And someone else, "Yeah, it's vast." And someone else, depending on what part of the river you're on, may then say, "Yeah, vast like the backside of Sean Brown." And even though no one on this river knows who Sean Brown is, people on the river might laugh. The chuckles will subside until a quiet sets in over the laughter, a quiet like you sat down in somebody else's church. And someone will then say to someone else, "Where are you from?" And they will say, "Texas." "What about you?" "Boston." "Boston?" "Yeah, Boston." "I know someone from Boston. Kate Lee." "You know her?" "No." "What about Stephen Ellis?" "Well, I'm actually in Somerville." "Somerville?" "Yes, Somerville." And someone else will then yell out, "Somerville? I know someone in Somerville." "Who?" "Nick Cathcart." "You know him?" I do know him." "Yeah? Yeah. Oh man, small world. Yeah, Nicky's a great guy. He is. I hadn't seen him in 5-10 years. And when I did, he had a first edition of an E.E. Cummings book to give me. Great guy." And the first person may or may not know who E.E. Cummings is, but will still agree that yes, Nicky is a great guy. And then it will get quiet again until someone else asks, "Where is it that we are?" And no one will answer. A few people shrug. All of you will look into the stars that are collecting in the distance above. You'll try to think of someone you might know that lives in Somerville or Texas or Florida or France, just to have something to talk about with a person you never met before, just right now, just to share something in the dark quiet. Even though all of you are already sharing the river and the sound of the current bumping all of you into one another. And you'll wonder where the water is taking you and how long it will be before it brings you there and what there will be like. If it'll be like here on the river with all of us sitting in our boxes, trying to split the dark by sharing our voice with others. If it'll be like how it was in the world before this one. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Anise. I've heard that last poem by you and read it several times. And I'm seeing in comments too that it's a favorite, and I will echo that. Oh. Thank you so much for that. Before I do have one question in our chat that I'll get to, but before I do want to remind everybody, both tuning in on Zoom and on YouTube, that you can buy many of Anise's books from the best bookstore on the planet, which is our own beloved Book Loft. So if you go to bookloftOregon.net, or if you go to the Book Loft, or your favorite independent bookstore, I'm sure they will find Anise's books. So I have one on my shelf at least. I recommend them highly. So Anise, somebody asked about we just have a few minutes, but your poetry journey from when you were younger. What got you, what inspired you to write poetry? What's a little bit about your poetry journey?
Pretty easy. It wasn't a complicated journey. I didn't, write poems, any more than probably any other random kid, say just scribbling something down for a class here or there, or whatever. But it wasn't anything that I thought of until end of high school. I took a bunch of art classes. I was a visual artist, and I had an extra elective. So took a creative writing class, and the poetry section really spoke to me. It felt, as I've said to folks, like it felt like that they're in like the field of creativity on that playground, that there was here was like another part of this playground that I just never been on, and got to explore it and experience it. And shortly thereafter, I went off to college and took a poetry class there, and that really cemented it being something that became just part of myself and part of my toolkit to process myself, and part of my wanting to, my basket of wanting with regards to like how I wanted to make art and express myself. And I got exposed that time, like via a news article to poetry slams. And it was something that really spoke to me, of it being connected to people that were alive and just people in the world, writing poems and then desiring to share them. And that was beautiful and powerful to me. And it was just as beautiful and powerful to me, like the other aspect of the poetry slam, of there being audiences who got to decide and have an opinion about the poems that they heard, that it wasn't about like, how much have you read? How much have you studied? What do you know about poetic language and poetic devices? Just, you heard a poem on stage, and did you like it or did you not like it? And that to me was so beautiful and empowering. And so from there, it was just kind of like, just became a thing that I was really drawn to and wanted to explore more. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for that. With that, I'm going to leave you for a little while. We are going to take a little bit of a break. For those of you that are Summer Fishtrap participants, your next item on your schedule, if you so choose to participate, is our very first craft talk. with Joe Wilkins at 2 o'clock. And then at 3, for all of you, our next faculty featured reading is Frank X. Walker, because the segues never end, the hits never end. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll be back again with Beth Piatote. And again, you all can watch these over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, I recommend that this last reading you just play on a loop. So with that, I think we're going to have to wrap this up so we give everybody a chance to stretch their legs and get back onto Zoom. And I want to thank you all. And we will see you at 2 o'clock and the rest of you hopefully at 3. And have a good afternoon.